All right, hello folks, and welcome to another edition of CrossHack. It is good to be here on a Friday. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the week. It looks like we already have some folks in the chat. Awesome to see some folks from Europe. Jan is joining us from Berlin, and it looks like Isaac joining from Spain. So thanks for tuning in, folks. And if anyone else joins, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Ask any questions as we go along. It's going to be a pretty fun stream today, I think. We are looking at taking provider-github, which is pretty out of date, and as you can see, we've never actually released it. It's more been a concept provider, but we're really going to get it fully put together and also start to see how we can use it to automate some of the Crossplane org infrastructure. So it should be pretty fun. I will say at last KubeCon, I think it was, myself and Stephen Borelli from MasterCard gave a talk where, we built out some of this live. Well, I guess it was a recording by the time folks watched it, but it was a recording of us doing it live. So we have this KC provider GitHub here, KubeCon provider GitHub, which is kind of like a light version of what we want to build to be more robust here. And it has some functionality. Once again, you can take a look at the YouTube video if you just search for our names in KubeCon. You should be able to find it, but we're going to probably use some of this at least to get us started today. And it also looks like Nick is joining from the East Coast and Paolo is joining from New York. Thanks for making it, Nick. It's good to see you here. And Paolo is actually the maintainer of Crossplane's provider IBM. Provider IBM Cloud, I guess. So Paolo is very acquainted with lots of the stuff we're going to be doing today. Also looks like Carl is joining. Seen Carl in Slack a lot lately, joining from Norway. Carl actually, this is a good thing to point out just for anyone, was recently, I think, posted in the discussions board right here with a good example of using some of the new functionality of bidirectional patching and stuff to create a bucket and a bucket policy. So definitely take a look at that. I'm really liking the discussions feature so far. It's pretty cool. We had another good example today with the Azure provider and the SQL provider being used together. So really cool examples of folks using composition, and we'll continue to make noise about those as they come in. Go ahead and give this one an upvote. All right, so let's get to it. I think I already have this open, and I was doing a little bit of work before I started the stream up here. And let's see. Go ahead and get that out of there. And so we basically just have the bare bones right now, mostly just this provider config here, which is going to allow us to specify our credentials. In this case, it's just a GitHub token. So we'll create that as a Kubernetes secret or use one of our other credential sources. You can see the ones that are supported for this provider, although injected identity is not really a thing with GitHub right now, but we could put it in the environment and file system, and we'll talk about how that can be done. Cool. Let me make sure that this is generating correctly. Not sure if I've run it since I updated, but we should get, for the provider configs, we also generate a provider config list. But the main thing that I want to implement today is the ability to add members to the Crossplane org. And so this is the Crossplane org, right? And we created a repo recently, or Jared created a repo for org here, and it's where we can manage some of the stuff we do and user management and creating new repos and that sort of thing. And we'd like to be able to run that on Crossplane for obvious reasons. This is kind of inspired by, I don't think I have a shortcut to it, but let's see here if I can pull it up quickly. The Kubernetes org repo, where some of the Google teams and GitHub teams and that sort of thing are managed in here, or maybe in config. There's also a variety of other places where this kind of stuff is managed. So, but it's kind of inspired by that, and because obviously our project is Crossplane, we'd like to manage it with Crossplane. So that's the goal here. As we go along, feel free to drop things in the chat. We can keep the conversation going. It looks like we've got a number of folks tuned in today. So that's really great to see. All right, we'll be using Go GitHub. This is the best Go SDK to my knowledge. If someone has another one that they think is superior, definitely drop that in here. But basically what we need to do first is look at the structure of this API. And like I said, we do have some kind of a guiding post here with this example provider, which I think, let's see what APIs we implemented. We have this org v1 alpha 1 types here. Looks like we have a team observation, or a team list, membership. So membership's probably going to be the one that we want. Although it looks like this might be membership of a team. And Nick says this is a good SDK in his recollection as well. So we want probably a team or a member for a, let's see, types here. We want a member for an organization. So let's see if we can find that here somewhere. Member, let's see, membership, struct, role. So these are values for a team member. Yeah, so it looks like organization. And I think that we likely, let's see, for organization member, the organization the membership is for. Interesting. Okay, so I think that we likely want to use this and scope providers to different orgs because a number of these are going to have to be scoped to an organization, a number of the API calls, although it looks like this membership here, potentially you can specify it in the spec, so maybe we'll have an organization object. I wonder if you can do a create organization. Let's see. Admin service create org. Okay, so maybe we actually will have a separate org object similar to how we did in the KC provider GitHub. I will say when we're initially doing this, I might just, with Crossplane, you can reference between resources. I might just not use the org type and for the initial iteration in case we have a bug, right, and we don't want to delete the org, obviously, although I don't even know what that API call necessarily looks like. We could go ahead and pull in the admin service and see. Let's actually do, oh boy, this is a fun one. It's quite a lot here. So we eventually will probably be able to import the organization, but let's start off by creating, let's see, admin service is probably our overall group. So we'll create an API folder for admin. And let's put a types.go in here. And I'll just copy over some of this. Actually, we need this to be, we'll start with v1 alpha 1 for this iteration, since this is a new type here. All right, just copy this over and make this v1 alpha 1. And then I think I already imported this in the client package over here. And Jan is calling out that they already have a GitLab provider that is much more mature than this already. So Jan, definitely, Jan, we should probably have you on a TBS episode to talk about this a little bit. But if anyone wants to find that, most of these kind of like newer providers are in the Crossplane contrib org. And I believe folks were talking about running a release of this soon. So I know it hasn't been updated in a while, but it has some pretty good support for some resources. And if you want to take a look at those, of course, I will always plug going to doc.crds.dev, and let's see if we've indexed this one before. Provider, I can type today. Provider GitLab. It looks like we haven't. Oh, and it doesn't have any tags, so we're not going to see any there. But once we have a release, you'll be able to go through and see those or just look in the repo directly. All right, back to actually doing things. Let's go ahead and grab the client.go here. I'm just going to import this whole block. And what I want to do is I'll frequently grab do something like this just so we can have the import to reference. Oh. GitHub dot organization. Let's see if that works. And I am using a newer version of this since we did the KubeCon talk. Also, we'll see if the editor likes it or not, but I'm actually going to close it and see if it recovers itself here. All right. Sometimes that helps out with the language server. It looks like it's still having trouble. Let's see. Oh, it's not in my Go mod file. There we go. All right, so that looks good. And like I said, we're probably, and it looks like there's a separate organization service here. So this might need its own. Oh wait, so I see. So the organization service is likely for doing things in the organization. Let's see if there's any create call. It doesn't look like there's a create call. So yeah, it looks like, interestingly, the org, we may have to incorporate two services into one. And let's see if we actually even manage the org over here. So we just did teams and okay, so maybe the teams are in the org service. So that makes sense. So last time let's see, list installations. Okay, so this is like to manage things that are present in there. Okay, so we have the admin service org, and I want to see what it looks like to create a membership to an org. I'm going to hop back over one more time and see if this says followers. Good. Okay, so there's no. Well, there's a members URL, but other than that, there isn't. So let's try GitHub membership event. Let's see. Membership represents the status of a user's membership in an organization or team. Okay, so organization is where we're going to want to reference the org that we created, or just the org by URL if we want to. And we may have to be able to reference a user as well, but we'll start simple with this, especially since they're alpha resources. All right, and let's see. So we had a membership here, and it had a team ref. Let's see. Create member. And this may actually be a little bit more complicated than you would think, because it might be that we have to create an invitation. Let's see, collaboration invitation, create org invitation, options. Let's see what else we have. Type invitation. Let's see. A team member's invitation status. Get email. Let's look at the different services that are available to us. This is not having fun with it. We'll just do it from here. All right. GitHub dot It's not going to like it if we're not assigning something. All right. We'll give you something here. What all can the admin, we'll exit the page. What all can the admin service do? Let's see. We'll say that, actually, let's just create an admin client here. New admin client, or actually, I wonder if this GitHub new client here will do something for us. Okay. Let's see. New client is going to give us a GitHub client. And we don't care about the error. And what will that give us? It's not going to tell us. Oh, it's because my editor is once again having trouble. Come on. All right. We'll do this one more time. And let me get rid of this for now. And I'll go back over to the client here. And what is this GitHub client giving me? All right, it's really struggling. We're going to go to the repo here. All right, let's just look at some of the examples. New repo, migrations, commit PR. So that's interesting that we can actually do things like create commits and that sort of thing, which I think could be useful for some of the releasing. So you get a GitHub client, client.repositories. Okay, and nice. So client dot maybe organizations is what we want here. But it's not going to let us do anything. All right. We will go to the actual, let's see, admin orgs.go. So rename orgs. Okay, create org. That would be one that we'd want for creating it, obviously. Rename org, and let's see if we can do admin users. Org members. That sounds good. Okay, a membership represents the status of a user's membership. List members option. So this is not going to allow us to create one, I don't think. So we can remove membership. So we'll definitely want that. So we're going to need the organization service as part of the controller. Absolutely. Get org membership. Remove org membership. Let's see. List pending. Create org invitation. Invites people to the organization by using their GitHub user ID or their email address in order to create invitation. So we're probably going to have a reconciliation loop that looks like list pending invitations, see if there's one for this user, and then which this is still abstracting over the actual API a little bit. So maybe we'll use some composition. So it looks like an invitation and actual membership are kind of different, but we could also say, you know, a membership is something, they're so intertwined that we don't want to separate them. And so I think that's probably accurate. I'm not sure if we want to represent invitation as an actual separate thing, or we could just say that an invitation that is satisfied is the same thing as what we'd want. All right. Let's give that a try. We might actually do something like have an invitation that's separate, and then have and let's create a different API group for this. Organization. And then have a composition that's something like, an invitation and a membership that references that invitation or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to copy this over again and see if we can get that here. So a create invitation request is, let's just try all the invitation instances here. List pending invitation. So invitation type is what we want. Invitation. So let's look at the parameters there. Okay, so there's not a lot here. I'm not sure what team count is necessarily, but a team member's invitation status ID is probably not super important. Okay, so this is a team invitation once again, though. What do they? Oh, it's using the same thing. List or pending org invitations. Interesting. So I guess behind the scenes it might be treating these as the same, both a team and an org invitation. Role team count invitation team URL. So I don't know if this means that. That's kind of confusing because the type is not specifying org, or is not specifying the org service. Let's go over here and find the create invitation. Invitation. Oh, it's not in this directory. Let's see. Org members. List pending org invitations. Okay, create org invitation options and create org invitation creates. Okay, so maybe an org invitation is something we want separate. Yeah, okay. So we'll say that, let's see, list org invitation teams. List all teams associated with an invitation. Create org invitation. I want to see list pending org invitation. So this is going to give us back. So this is interestingly going to give us back the team invitation type. And this is why I was wondering if maybe we should scope the provider config to the org so that we have the org when we actually create an invitation or any of these. I'm still thinking that could be useful. That's not really how the permissions are scoped in GitHub, but it definitely could be something that is valuable. Let's see. You can do email or invitee ID. Yeah, I'm just trying to decide whether to do, say that a membership is the thing that we are creating. Let's see, list member options. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to represent the invitation separately, to be honest, because that's only just one step. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead with membership since it's V1 Alpha 1 type. That's fine. If we need to change this in the future, that makes sense. This is gonna serve us better, at least for now. So I'm gonna copy this over, and let me grab also maybe just an example from provider AWS, so that we can just copy paste a little bit. What's probably a pretty small resource? Maybe SQS. I might have spoken too soon. Queue parameters. That's fine. Okay, we'll copy this over, and then I'm just going to delete it all. But it's just a nice boilerplate since we don't have any managed resources over here yet. All right. Copy that over. XPV1 should be able to get that. Remove these queue observation and remove all of the queue parameters. And I'm just going to quickly replace queue with membership. All right. And then once again, these are going to be references. Likely this URL, I think we can probably strip off. This is a status, so when we actually create this, we just need to make sure that we have enough to make a membership call. So for instance, all of these are going to be pretty much in the status, which is kind of weird that we're using a status object to represent something that we're going to create. So this is kind of like a pseudo type that we're creating here, which we generally don't want to do, but I think this is just kind of a weird API, and this might be the best way to reflect it. Okay. Active or pending. And I want to, we'll make this membership parameters. And get rid of this. All right. And the user, the membership is 4. So once again, that's going to be in the status, and we want the actual invitation. Oh, I should have kept that open. Org members. Let's go ahead and keep this open. And when we actually create an invitation, what is in that? Because it's going to kind of be mixed here. Create org invitation options. So invitee ID email. Create org invitation. Okay. So we'll put basically whatever's in the invitation, we're going to put into the membership here. And we'll move things like user and potentially organization, which seems a little verbose anyway, but we'll move pretty much all of this to, so role is common between the two, invitee ID and email. And team IDs. So you can specify the teams that you want on there. So once again, like I said, I'm going to put the things from invitation into membership, and we're going to treat them as a single type here. Okay, so the invitee ID, you can choose one of invitee ID, email, to specify the user. Team IDs, this is something that we're probably going to want to eventually have a separate team object, of course, which I think we do in the KC provider GitHub. And let's see. Billing manager, member admin, member maintainer. This is interesting. The invitation, these roles are different, which is kind of annoying. Specify role for new member. I guess it's because this is an organization member. Manage billing settings. Yeah, so this is with the teams that person's a member of. Yeah, I'm wondering if we'll just treat this as a role for now. I'm guessing that this membership here is for the team, that we're just going to have a separate type. And once again, the organization URL, that's going to be required unless if we scope the provider config to the org. Okay, So I'm going to comment those out, and we'll say we don't need them right now. Role default is direct member. Let's see, optional, and let's make this one optional, and I'm going to create the doc.go and the register.go. Also, let me check one thing. Crossplane runtime method sets. Interesting. Okay. I know what I need. Go get github.com/crossplane/crossplane tools. I think we need an update of that. Yeah, cool. Okay. So we've got the membership type here, and we need to go ahead and generate these. XPV1 resource spec. I need to pull this over. I think we have this here. It's just the shorthand that we use for this import everywhere, pretty much. And let's see, meta v1. Thought I would have grabbed that one actually. Maybe it has to be present in the same actual package for it to recognize it. And organization, let's just leave these off once again for now, because we're going to need to set those in the status, and I don't want to right now copy over all of the user type and organization type because they're probably rather large. We can actually take a look. Yeah, so it's going to have like the whole organization in here, which I'm not really sure how useful that's going to be. It is reflected, so, you know, might be something to consider. Would also be good to be able to use these. Let's see, and do we get the, yeah, we get the user, so we could late init one of those. But it would be good to use these to be able to reference things like the organization. But we'll leave it once again as is for now. And we actually want this required, right? Because we're saying this is an organization membership. And so I really don't like this API, but I guess we'll continue with it. We could say this is just like an ambiguous type that says, you know, if you provide the organization, it creates it within an organization. And if you provide the team IDs, then it's for the team. Let's actually look at the GitHub API real quick and see what it does. Let's see, REST API. No, I want the reference, likely. Organizations, member. Let's see. Remove, set organization membership for a user. Let's see. Check organization membership. Create an organization invitation. So this is what we're doing here. Team IDs if you want to invite new members for. Yeah, so we could say that if you create the invitation, yeah, and if you supply team IDs, then that will be used. It does say, so the org is required, right, because it's part of the call. But it's interesting here that it specifies that as opposed to in the actual type here, then it's going to have us use the organization URL. I think there is a separate team membership type, though, is the issue. For instance, let's search here. Members. Add or update team membership for a user. Yeah, and this is like a pretty different API in my opinion. Um, and so I'd like to not manage these with the same thing. So add or update team membership for user. Uh, team synchronization. Okay, no, that's just synchronization. Adds an organization member to a team. So yeah, I think this would be in line with the Crossplane kind of like API conventions to say if there's a way to manage these two things as one object and as two objects, then we're just going to represent the two objects. That's what we do with GKE clusters, where you can create the cluster with a node pool. As opposed to actually just creating the cluster and then referencing it with a node pool. So I think we'll stick with this. I think this makes more sense, and we will adjust accordingly if needed. All right. Like I said, we're not going to put those in there for now. I am going to. Well, first I'm going to copy all of this over. I'm not sure why I didn't do that initially. Oh, I did. Okay. Okay, register and docs. We're going to change all of this, but all right. Types, doc. Let's make this, we'll make it v1 alpha 1. And we want to generate the objects, and we'll call this organization .github. Let's see, is it called the organization service? I think it is. So maybe organizations would be a better name for it. It doesn't really matter right now, but I do want to reflect that as best I can. Organizations v1 alpha 1 v1 alpha 1. All right, and we'll get rid of these, and I'm going to replace these with the appropriate types here in just a minute. Okay, register, we'll go ahead and do it right now. Provider config needs to be membership. Okay, so that looks good, and those are going to be unhappy because we haven't generated the methods yet. Organizations. Okay. Register, membership. Let's see if this breaks or works. Well, it hasn't broken yet, so that's a positive sign. While it's going through that, I am going to grab these provider config controllers as well. That, let's see, config. And we'll use this. And this is going to be upset because this doesn't know about the rate limiter yet. Nice. Okay, so it looks like all those were generated correctly. I bet if we close that, yeah, it's going to be okay with that. And we'll go over to the controller, new folder, config, and we'll just call this config.go. And this is just the controller that actually adds the provider config usages, I believe. Or it might just clean up the provider configs. I'd have to look at that again. All right. Actually, it's not going to care because we haven't passed this anywhere, so it's not going to be upset about the rate limiter. Okay. Next, we need to, well, we've got the client here. I'll get rid of this that we were using. And we need a controller for, I'm going to make it a group directory. I know in some places that we have separate directories for each type, but I think this makes more sense. Membership.go. Once again, maybe I can just pull a pretty small controller from here in provider AWS. Maybe one of these. This is going to import so much stuff we don't need, but we'll clean it out and it'll be okay. Cool. All right, membership.go. Package organizations. Let's see, we're going to call this CV1 Alpha 1 membership group version kind, I think. Okay. Oh, I totally should have copied this over actually from the KC provider GitHub, but we'll do with what we've got here. AWS client, so let's make this Crossplane contrib, and we'll call it provider GitHub package clients. Yeah, that should work. And we'll call this GH client. And let me actually just copy this for all of these. And we want the organizations API. Package clients. We don't have a client yet. Yeah. Oh, no, that's not what we want. Let's use the we want a GitHub.client here, and we will pass this a string, and I think it's actually going to return a pointer, and let's see, our new client function that we return, manage that external client, new client function is going to be gh client dot new client. Okay, and I think that should work for us. I need to clean out a bunch of this stuff as well. All right. So we have this get config method, which would actually be good to have over here as well in our client. This is just going to pull out the... Actually, we can just put it in the new client, likely. We'll do it in two separate steps right now. Get config is just going to return a string, or probably an error potentially. And this is a new update with the different credential sources that we support. So I'll go over to clients, aws.go here. You can see an example implementation. We're not going to support provider configs at all, so we'll just ignore that. But okay, we can actually probably use this almost verbatim. Let's just grab this out. And I guess we'll need to take this. And the config here is just a string because it's going to be a token. All right. So we're going to pass it to the client, the manage resource. Region is not important here. Let's see. Cannot get reference. That probably needs to be updated. Cannot get reference provider config. Cannot track provider config usage. Okay, use pod service count. Okay, so we don't have this. Oh, this is still not using the newer stuff, I don't think. So set resolver. Let's see. Where are we actually doing the extraction here? Credential source, secret. Oh, yeah, resource.com and credential extractor. Okay, perfect. And we only support this one kind, so we don't even need the switch statement. So basically, this common credential extractor is going to automatically either get it from the secret or from the environment variable or whatever else we have. And we don't need this. And so we can probably just return, if this is a string, it's probably bytes though. Oh, come on now. Oh, it's not having fun again. Oh, it's pulling all of our types. It's going to be very unhappy about that. Yeah. All right. So let's see if it's recovered itself though. Okay, git config. And what type is this? Come on. All right, I guess we'll go ahead and import it. github.com/crossplane/crossplane runtime package resource. All right. We'll come back to that. This one also we need Crossplane contrib provider GitHub. And that's what we want to use. It doesn't like that yet, but it'll probably adjust here in a moment. Package clients ACM. We don't have one of those, of course. So we'll call this GH client git config. We don't need that region. And this is just going to be a string. So that should be fine. An external is client. And then let me make this a client.client. Okay. With connection publishers, yeah, that looks right. Controller, certificate group kind, that's not going to work. We'll reuse this here. And this is really struggling for us. All right, late initialized certificate. We don't have any of this right now. Let's just go ahead and get that out. This is also kind of a weird resource that we've copied. So that's going to change things up a little bit. Managed. We don't want this or this. And we'll just say that the resource is always up to date for now. All right. Let's just change all these at the same time. We'll make this membership. Perfect. And we'll just make all of these a no-op for now. Wow, that is a complicated update sequence there. we'll just return nil here. Nice. Okay, it shouldn't like that import. Let's see. Client go work queue, that's fine. We want to get rid of all the AWS stuff. Let's see if we have at this point. Create. Almost got it all. Okay, it's at least picking up errors now, so that's good. So I'm going to change all these to just be nothing for now. And it looks like we've got someone joining from Canada. Welcome. Appreciate you tuning in here. Let's see. Connect here should have. Here we go. GH client, get config. Okay, everything is looking pretty good so far. Get config. It's still not finding it here. That's a little annoying. We even helped you out. Let's see. Let me try and go mod tidy again. Let's see, package clients, Crossplane provider GitHub. I'm going to find all instances of that and replace them. Oh, it's even incorrect up there, I see. Crossplane contrib. That should help with some of the resolution. I think I've been unfair to the Go language server here when I was not giving it helpful information. All right. Let's see if that helps it at all. That package GitHub from Kate's release is not something I want to see, but I'm not sure where that's picking up from right now. Kates.io/release. Yeah. Okay. No, we do not. We do not want that GitHub. We want this one, which should help out with some of the errors we're getting. Awesome. Okay. Where are we at now? V1 Alpha 1 membership. What was this for the ACM controller? I can't remember what our naming strategy is on these. Let's see, controller, ACM. Did they just take it to a string value? It's just group kind rather than group version kind. Nice. Okay, so that looks good. GH client, new client. Is it not declared? Let's see, get config. Oh, I bet I have an incorrect Go module here. Let's see. I just don't have the package at all. Once again, I was being a little unfair there, I think, with the language server. Clients. Okay, that should help. Okay, looks good. So really, I think they all use a similar client. They just access a different method of it. So I don't really see a need to do that here necessarily. Okay, maybe I was being fair because it doesn't look like that the it's still not able to resolve this. Get config gets the config. Don't document functions like me. All right, I'm gonna try and kick this again now that we've done a bunch of cleanup and see where we're at. Okay, this looks more appropriate here. That's a little suspicious. Let's see. Where am I? I wonder if we have something weird with the case.io package types. Ah, I know what this is. This should be, well, we're getting all kinds of bad imports here. Let me go grab the correct ones. Clients. And let's see. Well, let's just bulk copy these and see what happens. They should resolve and remove any of the ones we don't need here. Definitely don't want that. etcd client should be gone. This one we want to move down to actually where it's closer. All right. Now resolve yourself. That didn't help. There we go. Nice. Okay. And yeah, the data. So it's returning bytes. And actually, I think that's fine. Let's actually just do that. Although for the new client, maybe we should just do this all in one function here. Maybe it'd be useful not to. So let's return some bytes here. And so we'll just return this call. And where is S supposed to be coming from? Common credential extractor source PC dot. That should be what we want there. And maybe we'll do the conversion here for now. All right. We'll say string here. All right. Client not declared. Oh, we want just GitHub client member membership. Okay. And maybe a first thing we could do is just list memberships. And I think if you don't, hopefully, if we don't pass any access token, that this just works automatically for us. And so if we observe and then we can, let's see. Yeah, we'll just list for this org. All right. So our observation, we'll say e.client. I guess organizations list members. And I wonder if there's a Git member. That would obviously be Git org membership. See, and that takes that's so frustrating because that takes a user, but the invitation, right, takes a ID for it as opposed to the username. So we might be able to invitee ID. We could provide a helpful thing to just kind of, allow to say the username, but yeah, membership parameters. Once again, user is just returned, so you can't submit it with the user. Let's pretend that we do have it though, and we'll say membership response error, and we'll just pass our context, and let's do empty string for now, and org. Okay, so if error does not equal nil, I'm not sure what their response behavior here is, if it returns an error, if they do not exist, or if that's just captured in the response. So let's take a look at that, because I believe we handled that here with our membership. Let's see. So here we are doing a team, and it looks like that it does return the error potentially, but we'll need to double check on that for sure. But we'll use that for now, which means we probably don't need to worry about the response for the time being. And eventually we'll do something with this membership, but right now we're not going to worry about it either. Okay, and create and update and delete, those can all be fine for now. Get org membership. I do want to see what the calls look like though, even though we're not actually going to make them for the moment. Organizations dot, let's see, we want to invite, create org invitation, context. Once again, we'll keep that separate. And then ops are going to, we're basically going to need to translate the managed resource. Yeah, I don't know what the CR abbreviation was for. I think certificate request maybe, since this came from ACM. But we can go ahead and do a GitHub, create org invitation options. Yeah, so this is what we sent over, and we omitted the team ID for now. All right. And we'll say this is the invite. And I'm guessing it takes a reference to that. Yep. So we'll do that. And just translate the CR. Well, what are the options here? Invitee ID. And once again, we're going to need to do more than this for sure. But for the time being, this will do the trick. Create org invitation options, email cr.spec for provider email, and role is really the only other one that we were concerned about. Spec for provider role, and then we'll just pass that in with the invite. All right. And one of the things I wanted to check is we have a similar thing with region on provider AWS, and I think a similar thing, I'm kind of just thinking in my head now, a similar thing to how org could be on provider config for GitHub. And I think that, yeah, we didn't specifically say which region to use in the provider config. So let's go ahead and just add org to the resource. Well, I guess we have organization URL, but I'm not sure if that is what this is expecting here. Org string must be an organization owner. That makes sense. All right. And for testing here, I think I still have a KC provider GitHub org or something of that nature. Let's see. KubeCon NA. I was actually kind of surprised I got this one. But so we have two members here, myself and Steven. And let's see if we can just get my own org membership here. Like I said, I think that the organization URL is just going to be the organization name. So we're just going to do this. The reason why it's in there is because that's going to be in the status. Okay. For organization membership, we'll just say name of the organization. Okay. Membership parameters. It's still not necessarily accurate completely. And let me generate that again. And we'll go down here. All right. GH client, new client. So this is, oh, here we go. We'll take a byte array here, or byte slice. All right, and, oh, it still doesn't like that. Has it just not updated yet? Let's see. Oh no, it does. It does take a. Interesting. It does take a string, right? We didn't update that. Type function string. Cannot use various type function string GitHub client error. Ah, I see. It can return an error. So let's go over here. Can it? Oh, okay. If you return an error, cool. So I guess we can just say, actually, for now, let's just eliminate that. And we'll just return a GitHub client. Cool. All right. So we're all good to go on that front. All right. And we're going to set up a cluster on Upbound to go ahead and, here, let me get this over here first. Oh, it doesn't like that. I'm going to log into Upbound Cloud. And pull that over. All right, here we go. Hopefully. Oh. All right. I think that we are back here. We did have my browser cut out for a moment there. So hopefully that was not too disruptive for folks. But I am going to create a new platform here. I'm going to do it in the XP org. And so basically this is just going to be a hosted Crossplane for us to be able to do all of this on. All right. And we'll call this org. So it can be the Crossplane org platform, and we'll say platform for managing Crossplane GitHub org. All right, so that's going to create it, and we'll basically be able to use kube control to be able to do this and connect with it. And let's see, observe. What else do we need to do here? We probably are going to need to put together some examples. New folder, examples, and we'll say organizations, new file, membership.yaml. Okay, API version was organizations.github.crossplane.io. And let's make sure that we actually provider GitHub controller, provider GitHub. I think we said the API types were crossplane.io. And this is v1 alpha 1, kind, membership, metadata. So this is kind of weird. Like typically we'd like to use the external name as the name of the resource. This doesn't really have an external name, I guess. There's no ID that comes back from this, so we'll just call this, let's see, hashdan KubeCon NA. And in the spec, we're going to need either my role ID, which, like I said, I think that I may add another option in here for, well, I don't think that actually, I guess when we have the user populated back, we can use that to get the person. Yeah, this is just really complicated because I think we need the invitee ID to be able to create the request, to create the invitation, but we need the username. So I guess we can use the username as the external name, but once again, that's not the name of the resource. So we need the user to observe, but when we create, we're using these values. That is very frustrating. Let's try, well, we can go ahead and update this, cr.spec for provider.organization. We can go ahead and update that down here as well. Okay. Oh, I'm very tempted to just say that you can provide the username and we'll actually look that up for you, because that would be a lot easier from the org membership perspective. It's, once again, this is hard to stay high fidelity with the API here. Let's see. Get org membership. What am I looking for here? All right. Yeah, let's just put the username in there for the time being. And we'll just say you have to provide the user and one of the other ones. So string, this one is going to be required. Let's see, user is the username of the GitHub user. All right. So we'll go over and just use that here for now. Okay, that should be good. Create. And then let's leave off update for now, but we'll do delete. We do need update though, obviously, because we'll need to be able to change, the level of permission that someone has in the org. So e.client. Let's see, organizations, remove member. What all does this take? Yeah, wants org and user again. So we really do need that username. And once again, we could look it up, and I think that's maybe what we did in the demo for KubeCon. Can't remember exactly, but it is a little bit easier if we just have it in the spec. But this could also create a situation where we have mismatched username and let's see. We have a mismatched username and the email ID, in which case we would create invitations and they would just never reconcile. Okay, so another thing we need to do here is e.client.organizations. Let's see, get invitation, list invitations, list org invitation teams. Is that what it is? So that would be interesting because we could use actual invitation ID, which once again is not present when you create an org invitation. Maybe it's okay. No, it is. Okay, so we can put that in the. Let's see. We'll create that and put it in the status of the membership. List org invitation teams. Oh no, we'll use that as the external name. That would be good for. Once again, still doesn't fit super well, but list org invitation, list pending org invitations. Yeah, I can't really decide which way we should go. Basically, I'm trying to decide if we want to try and list the teams for the invite that we sent out, and then in that case, obviously, if the invite doesn't exist, then we can continue, or just list all of the users and say, is this invitation ID in them? I'm going to go with the former, I think, first here. So it's actually, this error is more appropriate for this one. So we'll say, because if the invitation exists, then we don't want to create another invitation. But if it does not, then we obviously do. GitHub list options. I wonder if we can get away with just passing nil there. Or, invitation ID. So we'll say meta.get external name. So we need to override. Okay, so I think we are overriding the new name as external name. Let's see. So meta.get external name, and what are the list options? Let's see. Page for, okay, yeah. So that's actually nice because we're not gonna have to worry about any pagination because we don't actually care about the teams in this call. We actually just care about that this invitation exists. Cool. Okay. And I'm also going to add into the types here. oh wait, no, we're using the status, yeah. Or sorry, we're using the external name for this. Let me pull this up. So what we really want to do here is it's not that the object doesn't exist, we just want to set the status to pending. Although we could likely do that. Also, it looks like we have someone join from Munich as well. Welcome. We could probably do this as well. Let's see. Oh no, it doesn't tell you the status of a invitation. But this one does. So we don't want. We want to probably return an error here of some sort. Yeah, we'll just requeue there, I assume. And let's see, get org membership. All right, so this is our check that the invitation exists. This is our check on the status. So I don't know if it's pending, if that's going to work for us. But one thing I do know is that after we create the org invitation, that we need to use that invitation and get the ID. So this is horrible variable naming, but we'll skip the response. Error. And let's see. External named assigned. Let's see, we'll return early. I'm not sure how that behavior works there. Error does not equal nil. Return manage.external creation. Error. Let's see. Oh, come on, give me an ID here. Okay, yeah. Inviter ID. Okay, probably just this ID. We could use the getter as well. Oh, I don't love that this is going to be a string, though. What is get ID give us? That in 64. Let's see. Can you just cast that to a string? I guess you can. All right. So that looks good. And let me pull up one other thing. I will probably have to jump off here fairly soon. So we're going to need to wrap this up in a moment. But we have our org platform set up here, and I'll extend it later. And so we'll need to build provider GitHub and install it at the cluster scope. It's a provider, so everything's going to be at the cluster scope. Let's see if we are all good with our build here. I'm sure there's plenty of bugs. And let's see, what did we want to do with this? Let's see, if m.status maybe. Oh no, it just got sad again. I might actually have some time to also stream tomorrow, which would be super fun. So I might post about that. Oh. Let's just see what it gives back here. Membership state. Let's see if the state is active or pending. That's exactly what we want right there. So let's see. If m.state does not equal nil and m.state, and once again, we can use some enums for this at some point. equals active. We want to, oops, let's see. Undeclared, here we go. And well, it's really, I guess, if it's pending, then resource exists and resource up to date is true. But we're not available. Let's see. cr.set conditions xpv1 dot. Let's see what we have available with message deleting. Let's set creating, and we'll do else. Oh no, okay, so we'll do creating here. And available here. All right. Let's see if our build works. Let's also see if it crashes the stream again. The linting always is very CPU intensive. All right. Skipped on package, v1 beta 1 declared in this block. Looks like there's I'm surprised it didn't just clean that up for us. That's interesting. Let's try that again. Yeah, we have all of these unused errors here. Let's see if any of them are actually required for anything. Yes, some of them are. Error unexpected object. Looks like that's the only one that we're actually currently using because we're not wrapping any of our stuff yet. So one last time. Error empty token is unused in client. That's because I commented that out. All right. So even though we have that running, I'm actually just going to use a kind cluster here to get this going. And oh, I should definitely pull up what I'm doing over here. So I'm going to install Crossplane, and we use the latest stable, which is 1.1, which came out just 2 days ago. Hopefully this won't take too long to come up. And the reason why I'm running it locally is just for some, so I can run the controller locally, because I don't want to actually build and install it quite yet. So we're going to have Crossplane running here in just a moment. Let's see, organization. Let's go ahead and finish filling this out. Spec user is hashed Dan. Don't do that to me. Autocomplete. All right, whatever. User and organization is KubeCon NA. Actually, let's see if we can invite Nick to this org, because I already know that I'm in it. So what we want to see happen here is for our controller to go through here. So it's going to get triggered on the creation of the membership type. It's going to list the org invitation teams for a empty external name, which we could actually, let's just go ahead and skip that though, because that's a needless call that we'd be making. Let's see, and this is just returning a string, I believe. Then we'll just immediately return external observation, managed external observation with resource not exists. Resource exists false. So we can just go ahead and return that. And let's see. And we probably shouldn't actually just return this here because in case this actually just fails or something like that, then our create will be confused. So let's just return, we'll return the same thing. All right. So it should see the first time around that we don't have an external name set. And because of that, it's going to create an org invitation. Although actually now I'm realizing as well that this is going to, let's back that up a little bit. We do need to make this call, because if you create this and a invitation already exists for a user, then we don't want it to say, well, I don't have an external name set, and also I don't know if anyone knows about what an external name looks like. Let's see. Well, I mean, what the invitation ID looks like. Well, we do have these pending invitations here. So there's any failed invitations. So you can actually look at them. So if there was one that's pending, but the real issue is if I created one for me, for instance, and I'm already a member and there's no external name set for the invitation, then that's obviously going to be an issue. So maybe actually what we're trying to do here, which makes more sense, I think, is we want to get the org membership first, and then if that comes back okay, then we'll do all of this here. So this is going to be a little bit backwards from some other controllers. So if we get the org membership, then we're good to go. If the org membership doesn't exist, then we want to create an invitation if the invitation doesn't already exist. So we'll go ahead and at this point, so with either of these, we're going to want to return the resource up to date or resource exists. Well, let's see if it's pending. If the state is pending, so I think this org membership is actually going to tell us. Yeah, so that means that, so we don't even need to check it. So I've gone a little bit down a rabbit hole here that we didn't even need, so sorry about that. I don't think we need to list the organization teams because here we can say, well, in the future, we'll want to do if error does not equal nil, or if the error is, is error not found or something like that, which let's see if there is a easy way. I don't see one right off the top of my head here. Let's see. GitHub is error. No. Okay. So basically what we want to say is if this fails because it doesn't exist, then we want to say that resource exists false. So let's go ahead and do that. And we're not going to account for the error that's not from the resource, for some other reason, like a network issue or something like that. And I think that they might do some stuff with the response with that anyway. But we'll go ahead and set that, and then we'll set the meta dot external name, or we don't even need the external name because yeah, because we don't have to list it anymore. All right. Well, I just took us through. Maybe you can use those API calls in other places, but I kind of took us through a long route there. So sorry about that. So let's walk through it now. So it observes the creation of the object. It gets the org membership. If it doesn't exist, we're going to get resource exists and go to create. Let's go down that path first, I guess, because that's what would happen with Nick. And we'll go ahead and create. And that involves creating an invitation with the invitee ID or email. So we're going to need one of those things. And I'm not exactly sure how you get the invitee ID. Let's see. Get GitHub ID. Let's see. You can go to GitHub settings. ID plus username. Let's see here. GitHub username. So I'd love to know that. I'd love to know that right off the top of my head. We could also use the email. So I don't know what's happening behind the scenes to get that, but we'll use that for now anyway. I can't remember. Was it user ID was the type? Invitee ID. So if we don't expect that Nick is already here, then we're going to want to use that. Let's see. Types. Invitee underscore. Well, we don't really use that. Okay. Role, we'll just, default is direct member. We'll just stick with direct member for now. Okay, so it's going to go through, see Nick doesn't exist, and it's going to try and create. And so it should create an invitation, and then on the next one, we should see that it's in the creating stage here. So let's see what actually happens. We're also going to have to create the provider config, which maybe, let's see, provider config.yaml. And I'm going to have to get a Git API token or GitHub API token, which I think I have one. I'm going to do this off screen for obvious reasons here. Let's see. GitHub. All right. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, how did we actually get the secret value from? Actually, we can look here. I don't remember what the default key it has a secret key selector on the provider config, so we'll use that. So I am going to, in a different terminal over here, make sure I'm in the right cluster. And I am going to create a secret with my token. So 1 second. Let's see. kubectl create secret. I'm going to put it in the Crossplane system namespace. And we'll call it ghcreds. And I'm going to do a from literal equals token, and then I'll put in the token. let's see. Why does it not like my from literal flag? I did just update my cube control recently. Let's see. Oh, I see. I didn't say create secret generic. All right, perfect. So get secrets. If I can type in Crossplane system. GH creds. Okay, that looks good. So I just have my token value in there. Perfect. So we need a provider config to be able to talk to that though. And let me grab one once again. We'll just use an example because it's going to look pretty much the exact same across all the providers. Oh, that's a provider install. Oh, is there not a config here? We'll use the one from the docs. Great place to go. Install and configure. And where did I create that? Provider config. And this is github.crossplane.io. Secret name gh creds. I think is that what I called it? Yeah, gh creds, and I called the key token. So I have no idea if this token is actually still valid, so I guess we'll see here. But the first thing I'm going to need to do is go, and since we're running locally, I need to apply the provider config types, or all the CRDs directly. So I'll do that. Package CRDs. Let's see. API version set. Kind not set. Oh, these are getting stripped in a weird way. I think I know why this is happening, but let's update to make sure. Yeah, so it's removing these. Interesting that I'm going to comment this out here. See if our make generate works better again. Matched no packages. Ah, I know what's happening. Here we go. And let's see if our generate needs help as well. No, those seem okay. Let's see if we had any issues this time. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. And let's see if these look okay. For anyone who's wondering, the reason why we slice off the top of the CRDs is because the parser right now has trouble handling these because it doesn't know whether to count this as the as an empty YAML document when they're all compiled into a single one. So that's the reason. Definitely something we want to fix, but it's actually a little less straightforward than you would think to decide whether, you know, empty space between two different YAML separators are actually an empty YAML document or intended to be that way. So I'm going to see if fixing that potentially, because what I think was happening was it wasn't finding any of those packages, and then it was just running the sed command to strip off the top. And let's make sure. Yeah, so now they look good. So I'm guessing if I k apply -f package CRDs, that'll look good. Cool. And we need to create the provider config now. Typo in provider config. Thank you, Khosrow. Caught it before I applied. That's a first. I usually make a fool of myself before anyone catches me. Thank you for that. Examples, provider config. Okay, so that worked. So now the moment of truth would be running this controller, and because I am now hyper aware because of Khosrow's excellent advice, I remember that we need to do some setup here. And one of the things that recently changed is using rate limiters appropriately in these different controllers, which I won't go into too much here. But I did write a little blog post about it if folks want to take a look. Rate limiting and controller runtime, where I kind of look at how the let's see, how the token bucket rate limiter and the exponential backoff rate limiter work together. So if you're interested in what we're doing, that's kind of an outline of it. But let's see in the setup.go here. What am I in? I'm in controller. Is it out one level? No, I guess it's here. Where are we actually calling the setup functions here? Let's see. We cycle through them. I should be able to see it here. Let's see. Setup. It's going to be a lot of matches for that. That's not really going to help very much. Okay, well, this is the first thing I want to do is drop this in the entry point. Hopefully it finds it. Yeah, looks good. But it's not going to like that I'm not accepting that now. So work queue dot rate limiter, and I'm going to pass that in. Let's see. Well, I'm going to accept functions of that type, and RL. Where is this setup defined? Oh, set. I see. If error for in range. How did we refactor this? Let's see. Package controller aws.go. Controller manager. Yeah. Okay, so we just passed them all in there, so I'll do the same here. For range, I think that I just used a dummy one there. Error config setup. Ah, I see. Cool. Config dot setup, which it's going to be unhappy with this because of I'm not passing it yet. Oh no, okay, I already am, so that should be okay. Config setup and membership, or I guess it's organizations dot setup, and that's gonna have to be refactored because we're gonna have more organizations API types in here. Oh, setup certificate, that's the issue. So we'll go ahead and actually do that refactor, if you'll call it that. Setup membership. All right. Setup membership. Perfect. Oh, why did I just delete that? Organizations. I think it'll find it. Maybe not. All right, perfect. So it looks like it likes that okay. So let's give it a try actually running it. And we'll run it with the debug flag and see if it has any issues here. Is it starting up at all? All right, so it looks like we have a panic, so that would definitely, no kind membership is registered. Interesting. So I think that we applied our CRDs here. Provider configs, no type membership. Sorry, this is with the schema. So I didn't register these new types. I just did them in there. Let's see, v1 beta 1 and it's obviously not going to recognize that because it's import alias v1 alpha 1. Perfect. All right. Looks good. And we don't know for sure that the provider config is actually working. But let's go ahead and make sure that's there. Okay, so that default is being used, which means that our example membership here is going to use it by default. So let me just double check everything since this is kind of a destructive action. Make sure KubeCon NA. Yeah, okay. So let's see if it gets upset with this. Organizations membership.yaml is invalid. Spec.forProvider. I just have the wrong schema here. So these all need to be in for provider. Nice. All right, let's give it another try. Is invalid. Spec.forProvider role must be in type string. Okay. Cannot initialize manage resource. We also need to. Okay, spec.forProvider.role value null and body must be of type string. So that's an optional value. So we're failing on the initialization, though, it sounds like. Let's take a look again. Cannot update, man. I see. So it's trying to create with a null value for spec.forProvider.role. I don't know why it needs to update it. Let's see. Observe. So let's look at the reference resolver initializers. Okay, so it needs to add that default provider config, I guess. You know, for the short term, we could, let's see, do we have, this is why. So I am going to spin this down for just a second and apply-f package CRDs. Okay, configured. Let's try it again. Invalid request. Let's see. Nil is not a string. Properties role. So it doesn't like that I'm passing in the role even though, let's see. Yeah, it doesn't like that I'm passing in the role even though it's a nil pointer. So I was hoping that it was going to handle these for us down here. Also, I'm surprised that team ID, it seems to be upset about that. So let's go ahead and omit role here. Oh, wait. Yeah, let's go ahead and just omit sending that at all and see if that makes it happier. Also, I'm not sure why it's setting team IDs to nil, because that's not even in the... So I guess you need to initialize it. That is kind of interesting. I guess because it's an invitation, right? And we're saying with no teams at first. I guess that makes sense. Let's see. Invalid request for properties role nil is not string. So it still doesn't like the... let's list this. Let's get this again. Nil is not a string. So I guess we just need to provide a role. What is this? Direct member? Yeah, because omitting it since it's a pointer value anyway, it's gonna send it nil whether we omit it or not. So that's a bit of a misnomer where it seems like, I believe that, yeah, it says default is direct member. Yeah, interesting. Okay, that's fine. Let's see if this makes it happy. Cannot create external resource. But it's less frequent. Properties. Oh, I didn't update it, I think, since we, yeah, commented it back out. Let's try this here. External resources up to date. Awesome. So that sounds good. Let's look at our pending invitations. Nick is in the pending. So what we want to see here is the status is likely creating. Yeah, so reconcile create, ready, false, reason creating. I'm going to ping Nick real quick and see if he can accept this invitation just so we see what happens. Also, Cosro, if you're still on, I can send it to you or anyone else who's online. If you want to comment in the chat, I'll add you to this org as a member. I might remove you afterwards, but it could be fun. Maybe I'll leave you on. So if you want to put your username in the chat, I would be happy to send an invite to someone else. And I'll go ahead and craft that up now. Membership to... Oh, this is the wrong directory, but I'll move it in just a second. Put it here. All right, and I'll just copy this over. And I guess I'll use that invitee ID site again. Thank you to whoever it is that made that. It's very helpful in this situation. So yeah, someone send me. All right, Cosro, I will send you the invite. Oh. And if you wouldn't mind, if you get this successfully, going ahead and accepting it. Oh, Rory Bramwell on here as well. Cool. I can send you one also. Well, it looks like the site is going down potentially. There we go. We found you. I'll give y'all shouts out on Twitter too for letting me invite you. And I'll need to change the names of these so they don't conflict. Let's see. R. Bramwell. Awesome. Let's give that a try. And let me grab your user ID as well. I guess it's just hitting some GitHub API endpoint. I wonder why it doesn't. Why it just randomly takes super slow sometimes. Let's see. And Ramiro. Oh, awesome to see you on, Ramiro. I appreciate you you joining. I'm definitely sharing this. This is all going to be a pull request to the Crossplane contrib provider GitHub, and this is something that we literally want to use to orchestrate the Crossplane org. So this will certainly be available for folks, and we'll build it and publish the images and stuff like that. So this will be a full provider, and we'll be running it in a production scenario, if you will. Okay, so I'm gonna do. Let's get Cosro, and that looks good, and Rory as well. Oh, I think that I had a little copy paste error here. Did I? Let's see. Oh, I have. Maybe. I'm not sure what got copied here. That's very strange. I don't know what that Unicode character is. Okay. Weird. Let me just copy it again. I'm sure I'm missing something painfully obvious that people are screaming at in the chat, but I cannot figure it out. There we go. Successfully requested creation. All right, so once again, I don't know what the delay is like here, but let's see. So we have Rory with the pending invitation, and members has gone up. Okay, so you've both accepted. Perfect. Okay, and we see that you're both members now. It looks correct. And let's get our memberships. So it looks like the Rory's for some reason is not showing well. It probably just needs another round. Well, let's describe it actually. Let's see. Validation failed. Invite is already part of this org. So yeah, we're probably hitting a issue here where it's still trying to send the invite. Last transition time. And for Cosro, it hasn't updated to show that you're here. Synced true. Let's see if we can maybe print out some of the things that are happening. So get org membership. So that should be going. m.state equals active. Let's just add a little print here. That's going to be... So I wonder if just m.state is missing, actually. Well, we'd get... We'll... I'll put it in here. Because we're saying here if it's not nil... Let's see. I need to update that case there. But we'll check it here. Let's see. Yeah, so it looks like it keeps trying to update. Member is not part of this, or member is already part of this org. So it must be failing up here. Let's print the error. Let's see. Oh no, so it's sending the... It still seems to be sending the invitations from what I can see. Cannot create, yeah, memberships. Let's see, they're all for Rory though, it appears. Yeah, so it's in back off here. But for some reason, it's still showing false for the state. We're going to see if this panics. We'll give it a shot. Because I'm too lazy to write an extra if or make it a switch statement. Pending. Interesting. I wonder why it's still listing as pending. I wonder if it takes it a while to update. Interesting. Well, that sounds like an intricacy with the GitHub API. But anyway, we were able to set it up correctly. And also it says GitHub rate limiting. I don't think it is, Cosro, only because we are successfully getting that it's a pending thing. And we haven't sent too many. I forget what their exact policy is. But let's see. So we did get that pending response. Oh, wait, here we got active. Active for cause. Aha. Okay. This is ridiculous. Well, it's not ridiculous. It's 100% my fault. There we go. We're going to see some nicer stuff here. I don't know what it's seeing with Rory's, but that is rather surprising. All right. So now we'll see. Yep, that Cosro is synced and ready. And it still seems to have trouble with invitee is already part of this org. We should probably... I wonder how it keeps getting to that resource exists. Well, it should be printing the error above that. 404 not found. Oh, I know what's happening, I think. Is that it's got something weird going on with this. Let's see. I think when I potentially created it, let's see, did we implement delete? We did. Okay. In case if Roy's already signed off, I do want to get him in the screenshot, or get them in the screenshot for Twitter if we post this later, because I appreciate you all taking part. But let's actually see. Let's see. CrossHack GitHub. Let's see if we can, if remove works. That'll be interesting. And then if we recreate. Okay, so that looks good. And Rory, we'll add you back here. Actually, it looks like it did not delete you successfully, which is interesting. I wonder what the delay is on things. Okay, Roy says they're on. Because if this returned successfully, oh, I bet what happened is it's once again, I think it's using the wrong user somehow for this. I am not exactly sure how, but 4683529. Okay. We're going to try and recreate, though, and see if it... Yeah, so there's two memberships here. So it removed the finalizer, okay. Let's just try it again. Examples, member, organizations, membership, 3.yaml. Yeah, it's still getting invitee is already part of this org. Interesting. Well, that seems like... Actually, all right, Roy, we're going to remove you. And let's see if we can get you back in. So we should see that the invitations automatically get updated here in just a moment. Let's see. Successfully requested creation of external resource. All right, and Rory, let's see if you want to hit accept again. We can try and see if it went through okay. Okay, so these are looking good so far, except for the one for Nick is named #Dan. External resource up to date. That was for Cosro. For some reason, it's having issues with reconciling that. R. Bramwell. Which makes me think that maybe I've got a mismatch between the invitee ID and the username, which, I mean, I have no idea how reliable this site is at all. So yeah, that's a Noel was saying that there's some strange Unicode in there. Yeah, I'm confused by that as well. I'm seeing that also. Let's see, that's still with Cosro. Yeah, and Rory's in here now, but I believe that we're still getting the same issues. So I'm wondering if we're gonna try it with a separate one here and see if this works. So I'm gonna copy this. I must have just copied something very weird when I and I'll do it. Yeah. Let's see if this works okay. Okay, Okay, so now it's working. So I guess I just had some weird copy paste in there. It must have been when I was copying from here or something like that. Um, but we are all good to go here now, and it looks like, yeah, our let's get our memberships again. True, true, true. Okay, perfect. Um, so this is like the basic functionality that we needed for the Crossplane org. But we also, want to manage other components as well. So I'll continue building this out. And like I said, I think I could probably stream tomorrow and get farther on this because I'd really like to get this issue closed out and actually have on Upbound, a running org and that sort of thing. And the other component to that is, setting up a GitHub action to, let's see, where'd I go with that? To whenever, we have a specific directory that's like, config or something like that, that we actually apply those to the cluster. But anyway, this was definitely super fun, and I appreciate everyone showing up. We had a pretty good turnout here. And yeah, I will post on Twitter if I'm going to do this again. And otherwise, I'll see you folks next week for TBS and probably some hack sessions in between because I'm going to try and push some of the cluster API stuff to the finish line here very soon. So thanks for all of y'all for joining. Definitely appreciate it. If there's other things y'all want to see on these streams, feel free to reach out in Slack or Twitter. I pretty much know everyone here. So yeah, have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys soon.